Good evening, everyone, and welcome to DPR Deeper News. It's been an interesting day, hasn't it? Everyone had a good one? Yeah, good. Glad to hear it. Got some few stories here, quite interesting. Just what a day it's been for Rachel Reeves, the BBC, Keir Starmer. It's always one of those days for Keir Starmer, though, isn't it? He's in such a mess. Every day is another scandal for Keir Starmer, so no surprises there. The BBC, though, I'm so happy to see them get just torn in two, and finally people are realising, the general public are realising how full of nonsense they are. I'm so glad to see it. The first story is Keir Starmer has said that he's got full confidence in the BBC. Yeah, okay. We're all glad to hear that, Keir Starmer. When you say confidence in the BBC, do you mean confidence that they'll keep pushing your narrative? Do you mean confidence that they'll keep pushing your propaganda? Do you mean confidence that they'll be your little whipping boy station and do exactly what you want, what they want, what you want of them? No one trusted it. If you still trust the BBC, you're crazy, in my opinion. This is exactly why the mainstream media is just falling on its ass. Ratings are going through the floor, and independent journalists and YouTube journalism is exploding, purely because everyone's out there with cameras now, and because of things like X and YouTube, well, social media platforms. It's so much quicker to get information out there from people than a propaganda site, than a mainstream media site. Recording and doing a story, checking that it's okay to say what they're going to say, making it fit with their narrative, and then putting that story out there. It's just a formula that just unfortunately doesn't work anymore. It's over, basically. And to be honest, I'm so glad to see it. I really am so glad to see it. I've always known that there's always just been something not quite right with mainstream media. I can remember growing up and seeing a few stories and just thinking, no, that don't sound right. And then what did it for me was Panodrama. Again, if you haven't seen it, it's my favourite documentary. That is what made me switch off MSM, and that was a turning point for me. Panodrama, watch it. So there has been a British man arrested for a Hamas terrorist terror plot to attack Jewish targets. So yeah, a British man has been arrested over his alleged involvement in Hamas-linked terror cell. The 39-year-old was arrested on Monday and appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court later that day. He was remanded in custody and set to appear in court through video link next week. The Briton, is he though? Is he? They say that for a lot of people these days, and then you find out he's a second or third generation immigrant, which, if you have been following me for a while, you'll know that second and third generations are so many more times more likely to become terrorists than their parents. An immigrant that comes across to Britain, and unless they're already a terrorist, they're not really likely to become a terrorist in Britain. But their children and their children's children, they are much more likely to become terrorists. It's just a fact. An uncomfortable one, granted, a very uncomfortable one. But yeah, it's just a fact that second and third generation immigrants are a lot worse than their parents in terms of statistics for becoming terrorists, for God's sake, in any country. But you know, what could you do other than stop the boats and reverse immigration? Back to this guy. He was suspected of being involved in procuring firearms and ammunition for Hamas to be used for assassinations targeting Israel or Jewish institutions in Germany. So all around, just a dickhead, really, just a Briton, apparently, that's a terrorist. I mean, that has been a thing for a while now. A majority of terrorists that have taken action, so to speak, in Britain, including the 7/7 bombers, were second, third generation immigrants that teamed up with British converts to Islam. So it was even said like 20 years ago that Luton in England is likely to be the most sort of watched town anywhere really in Europe, because it's so Islamified. It's just a hotbed for terrorists, really. But there you go. 1 second. I've been talking a lot today, so and probably because of yesterday as well. A lot of news going about. It's crazy. So I've got my stories that I've saved to talk to you guys about, and I don't need to click into this one because it's Tommy Robinson, cleared of terror charges. He did nothing anyway. It's a nonsense court case. He knew he was going to get let off today, providing he didn't have a left-wing bias judge, which luckily enough he didn't. But they just had a bullshit case, really. It was just a nonsense case. And there you go. That's the way it is, isn't it? That's the way Britain works at the moment. So, yeah, what can you do? Besides just try and laugh about it. Try and do as I do and just make a joke out of it and laugh about it, you know. Tommy's free. That's all that matters. So for anyone waiting for the next UTK, Unite the Kingdom March, Freedom of Speech March, it's already in the works. Put it that way. It's already being planned. Tommy has said that he's got a meeting tomorrow, which will be the 5th of November, to discuss possible routes for the next march and locations to end up at, to obviously finish off the march. If I remember correctly, Tommy has said pretty much immediately after the 13th of September march that he would like, I believe it's Hyde Park. He would like Hyde Park to be the sort of stage arena and everything for the next one. Whether he'll get that, who knows? Okay, so our next story is gingers are becoming Muslim. Who knew? Gingers are becoming Muslim, and it needs to be looked at. It's a scary thing. And there's one in particular that I've zeroed in on here. And he's a gym instructor who called himself Anglo Jihadi, and he's been found guilty of planning a bomb and chemical attack on a major shopping centre. So again, another dickhead that thinks he's doing something amazing within regards to Islam, because that's what they do. But he's just a dickhead. I tell you what they would do, because we don't really do hanging or anything like that anymore. How about we just chain them up in the street, and anyone that's affected by these criminals' actions can just walk past and kick them in the balls? How about that? I'd be quite happy with that. I'd grab myself a nice pair of, leather steel toe cap boots to boot somebody in the fucking balls with. if that was the case, if we could do that. Unfortunately, today there has been an illegal migrant who has raped a woman near Charing Cross station. He failed his asylum claim, and through anger, through rage, or maybe he just thought, well, I'm going to be gone soon, so it doesn't really matter, and figured I may as well rape somebody before I get kicked out of England. Again, that's the mentality, and I don't blame the immigrants at this point, because they're obviously bad people, but it's more our government's fault and our police fault and our social services, etc., fault, for letting them get away with it. And in some cases, they even get paid for it. Take, for example, the guy that was paid to go home. He got a year's wages to go home, just to peacefully go home. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, but there you go. Next story is mosques in the UK are building underground facilities to train men for MMA fighting. Now, why would that be? Why would Muslims want to have training in combat? Again, England, if you're not woken up, then wake up sometime. Although, if you're watching this, then I imagine you're pretty awake, If you're choosing to watch this over the BBC, you probably know what's going on, eh? Okay, the next story is the pound has plummeted today. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, because you're intelligent people, I assume, and so it's obvious why the economy's crashing. After this morning, when Rachel Reeves gave that abysmal performance of a statement this morning, the markets have obviously become spooked by that, and investments are stalling. There's a lot of companies shutting down. There's a lot of companies as well that are shutting down operation in Britain simply just to move abroad. There's so many, in fact, that Rachel Reeves is on about doing, or she's already done actually, she might have already done a special tax just for them. So if you want to leave, if you want to say, hey, I don't want to pay any more taxes, I want to leave the country now, I actually want to get out of Britain so I don't have to pay as many taxes, they'll say to you, okay, but you need to pay this tax now to leave and to take all your assets and whatnot with you when you leave the country. So it literally is getting to a point where anything that you do is going to be taxed. Just tax. It's incredible. So we're at a point now where there's so many people leaving the country that the government is basically saying, well, if you're going to leave the country, then we want a great big wad of money right before you go. For no reason. For no reason at all. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's Britain now. Okay. A hotel migrant spat and punched cop for waking him up when he was trying to sleep on a bus. Who here has been woken up by a traffic warden, or what do you call it, a ticket inspector, when you've been sat in your vehicle or sitting on the bus or the train, and they just want to see your ticket, or a traffic warden will knock on the window and just say, do you want to move, or I'm going to have to give you a ticket. It's a British thing to do. It's a normal thing to do. And yet this guy was so insulted by it, was so insulted by somebody doing their job and asking him, have you paid for this journey? He was so insulted by that he decided, I'm going to spit and punch this guy for doing his job. Oh. Yeah, that's where we're at. That's this country, and Okay, we've got we've got Yasmin Alebihi Brown has said that she dislikes white men, and she she has said that she dislikes white men and she wants them to be a lost species. So if you're like me, white and male, then she does not like you, old Yasmin Brown. She does not like you one bit. And she wants you to basically just become the last of your generation, you know? The last white men should like to see that. I don't think it's going to happen for her. I plan to combat that, not by having children, but just by killing her first. I joke, I kid. Joke. So, in case you didn't hear it, a bunch of Afghan illegal migrants in the UK raped a donkey. That's something we have in Britain again now that's been imported. Now, I do know of a town, I think it was, or a city in Brazil, where it's common practice. It's common practice for young men to practice sex on donkeys. Okay, I'm not making this up. I swear it's true. Look it up. Google it if you don't believe me. There is. It's in northern Brazil, and it's a town where the women there are so religious that they won't have sex until they get married, basically. And so the young men there that obviously don't want to get married but want to have sex, they as a collective just said, there's a lot of donkeys about, so we'll practice on them, shall we? Again, I don't shoot the messenger, you know. I don't know how you get into that mindset. I don't know how that works, that you get along that mindset. It baffles me, but it happens, and it's in Britain now. It's absolutely in Britain now. Again, this is one of those things. Growing up, I can remember in my local town there was a guy that was banned from a certain section of the town because he was known to, you know, go there with ponies, and there was a field at this part of our town where there were a few ponies. And he was caught multiple occasions, and in the end, the local town police and prosecution service and whatnot just ended up banning him from that specific area of our town. I don't know. I'm sure he was a migrant as well, an invader. I don't know where that mindset comes from, but you know, it's a funny world. It's a mad world. Next story is basically, I don't need to go into these ones too much, do I? Because there's quite a few stories I've sort of set aside here. Tax rise is coming soon. Do I need to go into that? We all know tax rises are coming. We all know that Rachel Reeves is doing everything she can at the moment to dodge saying there will be tax rises in what is it now, like 22 days? Is it 22 days? Yeah, I think it's 22 days. In 22 days, we're going to have tax rises again. So yeah, it's one of those things, you know, it's coming. So either put down your tools and stop working and say, I'm not doing this anymore, or grit your teeth and get on with it. Personally, I used to be an electrical engineer, not anymore. No. If you're celebrating Bonfire Night, this is from Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue. And they're basically saying that anyone with fireworks displays, anyone that's going to a bonfire event, anyone that's planning any kind of flame elemented displays this weekend, please be safe, use a bit of common sense. This is why I'm sharing this story with you, because I always like to think everyone has common sense, and that's why it's called common sense. But I know there are people that just don't. So I'm going to say it again, please. Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue have said it. I'm saying it. Please be careful. Don't do anything stupid. Don't light sparklers in a field full of hay. Don't break into a barn and start setting off fireworks. It's fire hazards are everywhere. Don't set a bonfire right next to your fence. Give it at least, I'd say, I don't know, about 5-10 meters, okay, depending on how big it's going to be. I've been caught out with it in the past before, where I've had a bonfire in the garden and it got a little bit big. But I mean, try and use a bit of common sense. I mean, lucky enough, I had a bit of common sense. I stopped feeding the bonfire, and I noticed that the fence was getting a little bit hot, so I just let it die down a little bit. But I know what people are like. You'll keep chucking stuff on there, won't you, until everything's on fire, and you're stood there going, "How did this happen?" Because we've all seen it before. Especially with social media around now, the amount of videos that are going to be coming up, I imagine, over the next couple of weeks of people prattling about with fireworks, with bonfires, with sparklers, and it's just going to be a mess, isn't it? But the main thing is, don't ruin it for everyone else, okay? If you want to grab a bit of drain pipe and launch fireworks at your mates and that, fair enough. I used to do that with my mates. But just don't ruin it for anyone else. Don't go into a city and do it where loads of people are going to be watching you. Don't be an idiot. If you're going to do that, just again, have some common sense. Mind you, having common sense about launching fireworks at each other, that doesn't. But common sense for that age, when I was sort of 16, I was an idiot, but we still had common sense. Barely. So the next story, a former Met police officer has said there are so many stabbings now that police don't have the resources to deal with it. Who's surprised by this? Who is surprised? I don't think that needed to be said, really. It's because, to be honest, even if the police had the resources to deal with knife crime and terrorism and all these other sort of things, I just don't think they would. I personally, I think the police are quite content with dealing with little non-hate crimes, keeping their lives nice and simple, not getting too into big problems. Let's deal with the little things. Just give ourselves an easy life as a police officer. That's how I think they feel. But I'd like to be proven wrong, but I'm yet to see it. So if you're a police officer, fuck you. Okay, the UK is considering, so this is the UK government, they are considering a VPN ban. And they've said that nothing is off the table with regards to this. So as we all know, these online restrictions, laws, consent box that the government has coming in, I believe some are already active on different sites. But yeah, obviously that's how they do it. They bring it out on a few little sites to begin with, and then that acts as a gateway to get into a lot more sites. And the British government have really said they're going to take it across the board. If you want to view anything that's even a little bit probably PG, then you're going to have to face scan and all this other stuff, you know. My advice is just simply don't do it. Don't do it. If that means if I got a notification tomorrow saying I had to face scan and do all of that and have a brick card to keep doing YouTube channels and TikTok channels, that would be the end of it. That would be the end, because I'm not doing it. I absolutely refuse. I will not do it. But then I just wouldn't participate in society at all. That in that scenario. So, I mean, that has its own consequences, government. So, you know, you do you. If you want a billion people, billion, what am I talking about? If you want a few million people that just won't do anything, won't become cash cows for you, then listen to your people. So there's some of these, obviously, I'm looking at that I thought I'd like to report on earlier on today. And then I'm sort of looking at them again and just thinking, nah, it's not worth it, is it? What's this from the Daily Mail? I sound like me to tag something from the Daily Mail, because the Daily Mail sucks. But let's have a look. I've tagged it. So, okay, fair enough. This is why I tagged it. A female Afghan asylum seeker has stabbed to death a female store manager who gave him a job after his deportation from Germany was deemed unsafe. Yeah. So she was nice enough to give him a job, and he thanks her. Thank you for the job. I'm gonna do something disgusting and heinous and make you pay for that. I mean, again, this happens all the time. There was that woman who took in the invader, and he stabbed her. There was another one in France, I believe it was, a woman, lefty, took in an invader. He basically became a dosser, just hanging around the house. Anytime she'd say, you know, you're going to go out and look for a job or anything, nope. And eventually he pushed the boundaries more and more and more. And it got to the point where I think before she moved out of her own house, he was hiding saucepans, hiding the TV remote controller. If he went up to bed, he'd take the TV remote control with him so that she wouldn't be able to watch TV. It's her house. She's taken him in as a guest, and that's how she's treated. And it ended up, she moved out because she couldn't bear being around him anymore. And he moved a few of his invader friends in. And that was actually the last I heard of it. I might look into that. If anyone wants to an update on that, let me know in the comments section. I'll see what I can dig up about it. But there you go. That is the mentality of these people. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be a good Samaritan, take one of them in, don't be a fucking idiot. They're going to screw you over. Or worse, they'll physically attack you. Okay. So today there has been, just make sure it is today before I actually so this was yesterday. So yesterday there was a knife attacker on the loose after a woman was stabbed in North London. Met police officers rushed to Eltham Park in Islington just before 9 p.m. Monday morning, so that's November 3rd, yesterday. After being alerted to the knife attack, officers found a woman in her 20s injured at the scene, and she was treated for stab wounds. She was taken to A&E. The guy that actually committed the crime is still at large, it would seem. And let's face it, that he's probably never going to get found because the police are useless, basically. So the best I think we can hope for in that situation is that she survives, has a speedy recovery, and can move on with her life as soon as possible. And that's probably the best thing that can happen for her in this scenario, unfortunately. I do feel bad for her, I honestly do. But with modern Britain, that is what it is. That is what this country is. So, you know, you just got to deal with it. And, you know, like I said, laugh or cry. Everything in Britain now is laugh or cry. It's just, is what it is. So we've got more from the BBC. Another story has come out since it's come out about the BBC lying about Donald Trump doctoring that video, cutting an hour out of that video so that they could squish two bits together to make it sound like Donald Trump was a lot more aggressive than what he actually was. I'm just going to have another drink of water. Keep getting dry now. So yeah, they're basically liars, but we all know that, don't we? So yeah, there's another story come out that the BBC has pushed Hamas lies around the world and chose to minimize Israeli suffering. In a Gaza documentary, as broadcaster deemed not safe. So again, we all knew about this anyway. It's one of those things that if you've been following alternate news channels for a while, then you most likely know that the BBC paid a Gazan terrorist, Hamas person. They also paid that Hamas child, wasn't it, for a documentary, and his father was Hamas as well. And they were putting his story about and everything as if it was all fact, and it's all fabricated because they love to be the innocent victim in it all. So they're basically pushing Hamas propaganda. I seem to recall another story from the BBC where it was shortly after Patrick Christie did his story about the invaders coming across on the boats, and he managed to find one of the invader sort of preppers, the invader sort of higher ups that were arranging these trips. He managed to find one of them and interview them at no cost or anything like that. He pretty much said, I'm not putting any money into the pockets of bloody of invaders or, you know, invader supporters. And the BBC thought, oh, damn, he's made us look silly there. We'll let her go out and do a documentary show on finding these people, these gangs, these smuggling gangs. And it turned out all they did, because they don't do any real journalism, they don't actually know how to do real reporting or journalism. They just went out to somebody that they could find and paid them all the money. Yeah, can you get my immigrant friend over? There's $5,000. You idiots! You're paying them. You're paying the people smugglers. Oh, Jesus. Oh, BBC. When will they just drop off the planet? When? They are absolutely useless. They are, do you know what? They are the mouthpiece of Keir Starmer. They're all as useless as each other. And it's, honestly, I think there was a time where the BBC obviously used to do real journalism. And then that kind of evolved into only spreading the propaganda that the government allows them to spread. And because they can't do real journalism in that scenario, they've got to kind of doctor their films. They've got to only shoot specific things that fit the narrative. They've lost that ability to actually do proper journalism. And now, because it's been going on for so long, they just don't know how to anymore. Even if they wanted to leave the BBC and go independent and become an independent journalist, they don't know how to, because their job for so many years has been just propaganda. It's been selective viewing. It's been selective recording on what you can, they've been in that mindset for so long that even if they wanted to do some decent journalism, some decent reporting, they don't know how to because they don't remember how to. It's the same as the police. They can't do any actual police work anymore, any detective work, any kind of crime scene investigation work. They can't do that anymore because they've been told not to for so long that they don't remember how to do it in the first place. And obviously anyone that's come in beneath them training since they've been told not to do it properly, they've all been taught the wrong ways as well. So from the start, they don't know how to do it. So you're left with a country now where journalists don't know how to do investigations or report on anything, or investigate anything. You got police. It's exactly the same with the police. They don't now know how to police properly. They don't know how to investigate anything. They don't know how to do anything because they've been told to avoid doing it that way. Do it this way that suits our narrative. They've been told to do it for so long that they can't remember the proper way. And that's where we're at in Britain. Honestly, you are better off now. You are better off now wiping the slate. You're better off getting rid of every police officer, every mainstream journalist, and just saying, do you know what, we're bringing in all new so they can't learn any of your negative, bad behaviour and how not to do a job, you know? It's truly one of those kind of scenarios where you're better off just cutting your losses and just completely rebuild. Fix those foundations, Keir Starmer. How about that? Fix those foundations. Get people to actually do their job again in this country, because no one knows what the fuck they're doing because you've told them not to do it for so bloody long. Oh, man. Right, that's me done for the evening. It's been fantastic. I hope this has been I hope this has been educational. I hope it's been enjoyable, and maybe you've laughed a few times and think I'm a twat. It is what it is. I hope all those things are true for you. I hope you have a good evening. I hope you I hope you get a shag tonight, to be honest, from your partner. And or if you're single, go out and get a shag, and make yourself feel better about the world, or about Britain anyway, because you've got no chance of anything positive really happening in Britain for quite a while, I'd say. And remember, in 22 days your taxes are going up, so we've got that to look forward to, cheers for watching. I shall see you tomorrow morning, where I'm sure I'll have some more bullshit news from Bullshit Britain that is just completely insane, doesn't make sense, and I'll have to sit here and go, yeah, it fucking happened. There you go. Okay, good evening. Bye.